Oh my gosh, this is smelling so good. Ooh, those seasonings. Okay guys, today I'm gonna be sharing my high protein sweet potato kale soup recipe. Now that it's fall, now that it's like sweater weather season, all I want is soup. But the main problem with soup is that it's typically mom joke, super low in protein, which is really annoying if you're trying to eat meals that are rich in protein, fat, and fiber, because if you want soup, you have to make the soup and then you have to have like a protein on the side. So you're essentially making like two different meals. This recipe solves that. This recipe is packed with high quality sources of protein, fat, and fiber to help you feel full and satisfied, to help support your goals, but also just to simplify your life and actually make things taste great. This recipe serves 4 and each serving has 49 grams of protein, so it's very satisfying. Let's dive into the recipe. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance. On my channel, I share the science-backed and delicious information to help you achieve your weight loss and wellness dreams without counting calories. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Today's video is also sponsored by Kettle and Fire, but more on them in a bit. Okay, so for this recipe, I wanted to take a classic like kale sausage soup and make it actually a lot higher in protein. Sausage on its own is not very high in protein. It's a lot higher in fat than it is protein. So you'd have to eat a lot of the sausage in order to actually get enough protein. But sausage also has so many of those delicious spices and flavors. So I wanted to actually still have those flavors while really upping the protein. And I did that with this recipe by replacing the sausage with ground meat and a lot of really tasty spices. And I actually made this recipe last year, shared it with my community on my blog and in my email newsletter, and it's been such a hit. So I'm super excited to share this recipe with you guys on YouTube today. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start off with bacon. Now, if you don't eat bacon, you could just skip this step and just use olive oil, but I like to use a little bit of bacon because it adds that hint of smokiness and just boosts the overall flavor of this meal. So I got just 3 slices from the butcher, and I have my pot over like a medium high heat. And using just kitchen scissors, I'm going to cut it up into little bite-sized pieces. And then I'm just gonna let that cook up until it's browned and the fat has been rendered. We'll be using the bacon fat as what we're cooking the vegetables and the meat in. So we won't need to add more fat in once this is cooked. So while the bacon is being cooked, I'm just going to prep my other vegetables like the onions, the garlic, as well as the sweet potato and kale. That way I can just have everything ready to throw in the pot once the bacon is done cooking. Now this recipe mine calls for 1 full onion, but you can't really tell how massive this is. This was a huge onion, so I'm just gonna be using a half. And then just dump it in my bowl so I can dump it when it's ready. And then I'm also going to mince up 4 garlic cloves. Now it's actually super early, that is just gonna be a continuous joke for this entire video. But it is really early in the day. It's only 10 a.m., but we are having this for dinner. I'm getting it done really early because I have a hair appointment. La-di-da. So I won't be back until 5, and we literally eat at like 5:15 because toddler life. So I'm making this recipe now so that way I can just leave it on the stovetop covered and it'll just be ready to heat up right when I get back and have dinner still at 5:15, even though I'll be gone when I normally would be meal prepping. Which, speaking of my blog, because this recipe is on my blog, I've been in the process of doing a huge website update, huge blog update. It's so much more beautiful. It'll be so much easier for you guys to find all my articles and recipes, and they'll be printable and just, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so amazing. I've been in the process of manually transferring about 760 blog posts. I think actually by like the end of this week, it should be done. So hopefully by the time this video goes out, you guys will actually be able to go onto my blog, get so much information, so many nutrition tips, so many free recipes, and easily have them straight from my blog. So if so, I'll have it linked down in the description below. Okay, I just gave the bacon a quick stir. It still needs a few more minutes. So now I'm just going to peel and cube up the sweet potato. Ooh, I did not realize I got purple sweet potato. I thought it was just Japanese sweet potato. These are from the farmer's market, but oh my gosh. See how underneath the flesh is purple? This, in my opinion, is the tastiest type of sweet potato. Also Japanese sweet potato, both are so good. It usually makes the recipes a little bit more creamy. I love using these for sweet potato fries. This might make the soup turn a little purple. We will see. I haven't tried it with purple sweet potato. Either way, it'll still taste delicious. So sweet potato obviously is a little bit more starchy than some other ingredients. If you're super carb sensitive, then you might want to swap this out with something like a couple carrots instead. But if you're active, or if you're in maintenance mode, or if you just are not super carb sensitive, there's still a really great option. We're not using a lot of them. We're just using 2 like smaller size sweet potatoes, which will help to keep this overall glycemic load fairly low, and so good. Highly recommend. So you do want to make these roughly the same size, but like don't take out a measuring tape for it. It's not that specific. You just want to make sure that they all can cook around the same time, so you don't get some that are not cooked and some that are really mushy. The bacon is done. It's nice and browned. I'm just going to take it out with a slotted spoon. Now you have two options of what to do with the bacon. You can either do what the recipe says, which is to reserve it and add it in at the end, or you can do what always happens in my house and end up eating it while you're making the recipe. That is typically what happens here. So now I'm adding the ground beef. I'm going to be using about 1¼ pounds so that I can account for the shrinking effect of ground beef. That way it will actually serve over 30 grams of protein for each person. Okay, so now I'm adding in the seasonings. I'm putting in a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of dried oregano, a teaspoon of dried basil, a teaspoon of onion powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of crushed chili flakes. Now, depending on how spicy you like it, you might want to add a little bit more or a little bit less of the chili flakes. You can always add more later if you aren't sure on the spice. So maybe be a little bit more conservative with it and add more as you go. And then I like to salt as I'm cooking, but since there is usually some salt in bacon, I'm first just adding in like about a heavy pinch or so of salt. And then again, I can add more as I go. Oh my gosh, this is smelling so good. Whew. Those seasonings. Okay, once the ground beef is browned, I'm just going to transfer it over to that same plate with the bacon, which will make it so that I will stop eating little bacon pieces, but also so that we can move on with the rest of the recipe. Now I'm just gonna take that pre-chopped onion and garlic and dump it in here. Stucky boy. Look who just woke up from his nap. Oh my goodness, look how happy you are. 4 months old. Oh. Okay, so I'm just going to saute up these onions until they're softened. Now that the onions are softened, I'm just going to add in the sweet potato and then all of the cooked meat, including those bacon pieces. And then also 6 cups of bone broth, which is absolutely delicious meal. Also uses today's sponsor, Kettle and Fire. Kettle and Fire is my favorite bone broth company. It just makes using a high quality bone broth so much easier, especially if you're super busy. I'm a mom of 2, I'm a business owner. Even though I know how to make bone broth, I've done it before, I just simply do not have the time anymore to be making bone broth. So the fact that I can reach into my pantry and get a high quality bone broth that I can use in meals like this just makes my life so much easier. Plus I love that Kettle and Fire slowly simmers bones from grass-fed cows to make sure that they're pulling out as much collagen and nutrients as possible. And I personally love adding bone broth into my meals like with today's recipe because the collagen that's naturally in bone broth pairs so well with high quality complete proteins like beef. That combination helps to make you feel so much more full and so much more satisfied, which can make it so much easier to achieve a weight loss or wellness goal. And Kettle and Fire is super generous and they're offering my community 20% off your order when you use code AUTUMNBAITS at checkout. So make sure you stock up on Kettle and Fire bone broth and I'll have the link down description below. Okay, so I poured in 6 cups of bone broth and I'm just raising the heat a bit so it can get to a simmer or rather a boil. Once it gets to a boil, I'm going to reduce the heat to like medium low so it can be at a simmer. I'm just cooking this long enough so that the sweet potato will be fork tender. Depending on how big you cut the sweet potato, this can take between like 15 to 25 minutes. It already smells so good. My husband just walked in and was like, oh my gosh, it smells amazing in here. So while this is simmering, I'm going to prep my kale. So it's been 15 minutes and I'm just giving the sweet potato a little test. As you could probably tell, it's fork tender, which means that it's ready. But we're just going to add now the last 2 ingredients. Oh, good. For the last 5 minutes of cooking, I'm gonna add in the kale as well as the heavy cream just to add some richness. Now here you can test to see if you need to add in more salt because I just took a little taste. I noticed it does need a little bit more salt, so I'm going to add that in after I add in the kale. And then for the heavy cream, I'm using heavy cream obviously, but if you're dairy free, you could swap in coconut milk from a can. Although it will give it like a slightly coconut milky flavor, but probably still delicious. Okay, so the soup with the kale and the cream has now been simmering for about 5 minutes, so it is done. I can turn it off. And now just to finish it off, I'm adding in Parmesan. If you are dairy free, you could also use a couple tablespoons of nutritional yeast and it'll give it a similar like cheesy flavor without the dairy. I don't know if you guys have seen the original Bridget Jones' Diary when she tries to make dinner for everybody and she wraps her food in a blue string and so the whole soup is blue. That kind of happened with my purple sweet potato. Let's give it a taste test and just see how it is. Oh, purple sweet potato did not ruin it. This is so good. This soup has all of that delicious flavor that using sausage would provide, but so much more protein. It is so good. It is so flavor packed. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to eat this tonight. Protein, fat, fiber, all in one pot. minimal cleanup, and something that you can prep earlier in the day and have ready in the evening, which is exactly what I'm doing. Now, something else that I love making this time of year is my protein hot chocolate. It has 18 grams of protein and 0 added sugar, but it tastes like such a sweet treat. If you want to grab that recipe and check out this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this delicious and science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, I'm gonna go get my hair done and then eat this later tonight, and I'll see you in my next video.